Hello and welcome to the Leaders Council podcast with me, Joshua Jackson. As regular listeners will know, this podcast is all about speaking to the people who get up each day and make this country work, putting their teams and clients at the forefront of all they do and showcasing ingenuity and leadership. And today I'm joined by a very forward thinker in Callum Adamson, co-founder and CEO of Elastic Team Startup Distributed. Callum, hello.
Hi there. Great to be on.
No, thank you ever so much for taking the time out. It's always really interesting hearing from people that have such sort of forward-thinking companies and viewpoints. And if you wouldn't mind just giving listeners a bit of intro about yourself and about the company, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So my name is Callum Adamson. I'm a university dropout that got more excited about the internet than I was about building aircraft some 10, 15 years ago now. Joined a startup in London. I've been building tech ever since. And since about 2017, I've been building Distributed. What we are as a company is kind of outsourcing for millennials. It's outsourcing rebuilt, reimagined, and restructured for modern enterprise businesses. And what that means is agile, on-demand talent, but independent talent, and independent talent that have better benefits packages, more career options, and sharper career trajectories than if they were going to take permanent roles inside an organization.
Well, that all sounds really quite interesting and, good for a lot of people that are obviously under a bit of uncertainty with their current, let's say static job role. But it would be impossible to sort of ignore the worldwide situation at the moment. And, especially sort of looking back over the last year, last 18 months, regardless of the current opening up of the economy as it is at the moment. But how's everything been? Did it particularly affect you or were you, relatively free?
No, it's important to frame my answer here. I've seen the world in the past 2 years through a very, let's say, thin sliver of a window crack, right? I work in tech and I work in software development, an industry that's probably experienced its largest growth period over the past few years. So for us at Distributed, we've seen exponential growth, which is great, right? Because we've been able to onboard way more contractors to our Elastic team members and help way more businesses, in their digital transformation efforts or their digital integration efforts, basically deliver their roadmap. So we've had an excellent couple of years, but for everybody, it's not been the same. Like I've got friends and family in the entertainment and hospitality industry, and it's been super tough for them. So we're very cognizant of that here at Distributed. The entire world's not had a booming 2 years, and it is only now just starting to build back.
And it's good to hear that actually it hasn't affected everybody. So many times when interviewing people on this show, it is the doom and gloom. Sometimes it's people working in care, working in hospitals, people working in manufacturing where their processes have got more expensive and lower production rates. So it's nice to hear that obviously your company has been able to grow. And how have you managed to sort of keep that momentum going? How have you brought teams on? How have you managed to integrate through the platform?
So it's important to frame the context that since 2016, 2017, I've had a firm belief that the workforce of the future is on demand, it's composable, and it's going to be predominantly independent. And it makes a lot of sense when you look at the basics of the existing talent models. In a world where talent has never been in such short supply and is never going to meet is never going to meet demand size for at least 10 years, you have to think about new ways of engaging talent and new ways of driving your business forward. And when you're trying to build software, that means, okay, let's appeal to the largest talent base that we possibly can. When with remote first teams, that's the whole of Earth. Now, that does present a bunch of problems. You need to find them, qualify them, you need to onboard them, you need to manage them, you need to pay them, etc. And you need to do that over and over again in different currencies, in different languages, in different geographies. So what we've kind of been able to do and what we've been able to drive forward over the past couple of years is the adoption of this new talent model. When businesses were going remote first and businesses are seeing talent costs skyrocket, and times to hire talent being pushed out way beyond 4 or 5 months now to hire a single software engineer. We've been able to be that on-demand pressure release valve for them for the past 2 years, and we're now developing those those use cases into long-term relationships that are helping them restructure their workforce.
And do you think that the benefits are there for the individual and the company, or is it primarily the individual that you're looking to help, change the way that people are looking at their work and thinking that, they can do better by having a multitude of opportunities rather than just a single one?
Yeah, we're a talent-first company. We're a people-first company. I mean, I even wrote that on the website, right? We're a people company enabled by technology. We're not a tech company first. So yeah, we are constantly striving to build a better world for independent talent, and that hasn't existed until now. Freelancers, contractors, gig workers, they've had to take on a whole load of pain in order to get what they want, which is control over their lives. They've had to be their own sales channel. They've had to be their own manager, their own accounting system, their own customer management platform. So we're really, really focused on being pain relief for our talent partners, for our Elastic team members. And the benefit of that, the output of that, is that our customers get access to a higher quality of talent at a lower cost base and a way more flexible engagement model than was ever possible before.
So that's really interesting, given the debates around the gig economy that have been going on. Obviously, you're working with a high talent pool rather than what people normally assume of as the sort of gig economy of the delivery drivers, Deliveroo, Uber, and all of the associated problems with that. Do you think that you're actually being tarnished by that, or do you think that these things can be separated and you're able to craft that message in a way that means that it is freelancers with skill rather than the other way around?
I would separate it into kind of thought work and manual work. Like you and I can probably deliver the same pizza in the same time, but you and I cannot write the same quality of software, right? So it's a very different skill set that we're working with. Do I feel like it's hindered the independent careers industry? Yes, I do. Do I think IR35, etc., hinders contractors and hinders independent careers? Yes, I absolutely do. And the contractors would say so themselves too. Is there a future in which these things can all actually roll into a beneficial working model for contractors? Yes, I do. That's what we're working on building. And we're working on building an entirely new employment model here at Distributed. So yes, I do believe that gig workers, your Uber drivers, your Deliveroo drivers, etc., should be treated much better and should be provided with a similar platform as to the type that we're building at Distributed. For us, we're more focused on thought work, highly skilled labor, and providing them with features and benefits that actually just improve their working lives exponentially. Before they met us, they were already contractors. They were just suffering through a lot of professional pain. Now we're alleviating that. You've
just provided them with the platform to take some of the stresses away and sort of help gain access to the right jobs and the right other connections and people, which I suppose is a very laudable ambition, especially when you have that mindset that this should be the way that people are able to live from a remote platform, from taking the jobs that they're skilled for and not being bogged down. But there's always going to be governmental resistance to new platforms like this. Obviously, we look at the leaks from the last couple of weeks, tax receipts. Obviously, that's more about the super rich. But do you find you have problems dealing across country borders, or is it is that something down again for the contractor?
It's a mix of both. Like, we're here to enable and to serve our Elastic team members. We've not had problems with contracts. We've not had problems with cross-border payments, with international payments, etc. We've not had government resistance. And as far as tax issues go, everything is taken care of at the contractor side. And as far as I'm aware, they pay their full tax quota. You have to remember, our team members are spread over 14, 15 countries.
Yep.
So it's not all doesn't all fall under IR35 anyway.
Absolutely. And, that's, quite an important one as well, isn't it? Having, the idea of globalization that's actually happening now through technology, through, cryptocurrency, through these expanding technologies that really are allowing, nations to work across borders more seamlessly than, let's just say, people with the Brexit in their mind would otherwise think. But, looking at forwards to the future of work and, the talk of hybrid offices, hybrid spaces right now. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that people are going to be completely separating, or do you think there is a space for people to be still collaborative within a central location?
So let's contextualize what remote work is, right? So for the past 2 years, companies that have been traditionally office-based, and we're a remote-first company at Distributed, companies that have been traditionally office-based, their employees have, let's analogize it, they've been, let's do a metaphor. They've been sitting in a lifeboat and calling it sailing, right? What we've all experienced over the past 2 years is not remote work. Remote work is a conscious choice. It's structured, and it's built in a way that actually works better than in-office work, in-office collaboration. But it doesn't happen overnight. If your business wasn't a remote-first company before the pandemic, there'll probably be a return to office, maybe a hybrid return. But the cost savings, the improvement of employee happiness and health, higher productivity of remote work, all of these things are factual data points, right, that businesses are now very, very acutely aware of. So what I think you'll see most companies do is create a stepped approach to going, fully remote over a period of months, maybe a period of years. But there may be an initial snapback to let's get things back to working the way that we know, can predict, and can care for our team members properly, and then move towards a remote first world.
And leaders are going to have to change their mindset, aren't they? They're going to have to trust in their staff and trust that, outside of a global pandemic and the necessity of working from home, that people are still going to be able to do their job outside of the office. And do you think there are any sort of lessons that leaders need to learn to take this on board, or do you think it's just going to be a natural evolution?
It's a common sense revolution that will happen, especially as more millennials and Gen Zers move into management and senior leadership positions. It's a move towards measuring the things that matter. Let's stay focused on outcomes, not input. It's about developing a better quality of people management, making sure that your team members operate with empathy, high quality communication, very concise, clear communication, providing the right support to team members, and above all, like you've just referenced, trusting them. If you don't trust your team to be attacking the mission or to be driving forward the goals that you're pursuing, it probably shouldn't have been on the team in the first place.
So, would you have any sort of hints or tips for people to be able to get that model right, or would it just be independence or individual circumstance? There's some tips, right? We need to recognize every business has its own personality. Every business has its own culture, right? So what I say now will not be right for all. There's no panacea. There's no silver bullet. Engage collaboratively with your team on the rules of engagement. And what I mean by how do we communicate? How do we document? How do we store documentation? What are office hours and what are non-office hours? What's emergency contact protocol, etc., and so on and so forth. And then we have, a set of rules for how we engage, how we work, and how we communicate, support each other in a remote first world. And obviously, sorry, Karen.
Go ahead, Joshua.
No, I was going to just say, you've been running your own sort of roundtable on the future of work and, bringing people in with different ideas and different ways of doing things. And I was just hoping you'd be able to share some of those lessons as well, really, being from yourself in that collaborative space.
Yeah, agility, the ability to stay agile while using technology. So if we stay focused on outcomes as a team and as a company, we need to be able to test, to learn, to iterate on the technology that we're using to deliver those outcomes. And that's everything from collaboration platforms, to phone, text, IMs and DMs, from Microsoft to Apple stack. You have to be able to experiment to a point where you have a working model for your own company. In terms of people that I've spoken to, most of the people that we've had on the podcast here, my peer group, and people in the same space as me, we've been working remote first and working with distributed teams for actually coming up to a decade now, right? So there's an accepted, group of tenets, which is, it's communication, it's asynchronous if possible. It's ensure there's going to be in-person meetups at least once a quarter. And it's providing your team members with, remember, remote work is not working from home. Yes. So providing your team members with the right kit, the right space, and the right support to be a great remote worker. Remote work is not sit in your living room and give yourself back problems for the next 8 months to drive the company forward. It's get set up so that you are a more productive version of yourself. And you're going to be that if you have more control over your life. That's why remote first is better.
I think that's a really important distinction you're making there again, and just really trying to hammer it home that it isn't, as you were saying, working from home from the kitchen table. It is having a remote setup. It is being able to have an office or a place where you can go and actually concentrate. It isn't the forced elements, and obviously we've seen from co-working spaces, pop-ups that have been going on over the last, since WeWork came around, really, despite the issues with that. But that these are better processes for a lot of people, and it's really encouraging to be, hearing from you that you think this can continue and this can be a trust place. But what we like to talk about on this podcast isn't just sort of business. It isn't just the issues of the day and the politics, but it's also about the lessons that you yourself have learnt and your particular leadership style. What would you say that sort of gives you the ability to run the company that you in the way that you do, and have that sort of ingrained, I'm going to say it again, ingrained trust in the people that you're working with and collaborating with?
It's a combination of all of these that kind of give me the confidence to continue to to build this company, to be the CEO that Distributed deserves, and to make sure that our team are well cared for, they're grown. And they're the best possible people that we can have working for this business at any point in time. We're a very transparent, very open, very honest company here at Distributed. Sometimes, that's not the right fit for specific team members, but what we are very clear about is that, it's a badge of honor for us, sharing information at all levels of the company. That's any information that's requested. Being very empathetic, very supportive of our team members, but also understanding that the word we use here is team. It's not family. It's not anything else. We're here to win as a team. We're here to drive the business forward as a team. And what a team it is. I mean, the way that our team at Distributed have performed over the past 2 years, continue to grow, continue to support each other and set each other up for win. It makes me really so proud, and makes me want to be a better CEO every single day that I show up at work.
And that's really encouraging as well, isn't it? Being able to have a team that you can rely on and that actually spurs you to do better, not only for yourself, but for them, to build the company. But you said that you made hundreds of mistakes, and I always like to ask people, when you were sort of developing the company or recently, especially given some of the challenges that have been going on, what would you think that the biggest mistake that you've made has been, or at least a memorable mistake that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, the biggest mistakes I've made at Distributed have been hiring the wrong people and keeping them working with the company for far too long. This is the second company I've started, but it's the first time I've sat in the CEO seat, especially of a business that's scaling this rapidly. That's the biggest mistake, and I guess the biggest learning over the past 3 years that we've begun scaling this business is make sure that first and foremost you have a great cultural fit. Skills can be taught, but personalities kind of tough to change. Make sure you have a great cultural fit before you go into, I guess, skills and domain testing. As far as any other memorable mistakes go, I guess as a venture-backed company, you move offices a lot. And what a really memorable, slightly embarrassing mistake is I ordered a table for one of our meeting rooms, and it was impossibly heavy. It took about six very large men with mechanical equipment to get it in there, and I believe it's still in that WeWork meeting room. We had to abandon the table.
That's I've never heard anybody, one of their most memorable mistakes being trying to fit in a table before. I like that one very much. You're very right on having company culture as well as being one of the major lessons. It's always the case of, if you're going to fail fast, but if you're going to employ somebody, make sure that they're right very quickly as well. There's nothing worse than having somebody around or a few team members around that actually aren't there and aren't going in the right direction as your long-term vision. And as we're speaking on sort of long-term vision, have you got anything that you're going to be adapting, changing? Obviously this is a huge period of growth for you, but what's that looking like moving forwards?
It's just a continual doubling down on the experience that our Elastic team are provided with it distributed. That's all we will ever be focused on at this company. We know that a high quality, a happy, a healthy, a fully engaged and mission aligned Elastic team for us delivers the very best outcomes for our customers. So that's what we're focused on building, because that represents the entire future of our company. We've got some incredible technology that we've also built that we will be announcing over the next few months. But that technology there is there to enable our Elastic. It will revolutionize this industry, but at the same time, it's people first every time for us.
Well, it sounds like a really exciting sort of few months that you've got coming up, especially with this new project that's just soon to be unveiled. And it'd be really interesting to have you back on sort of midpoint next year, hopefully after we've got past then the worst of the rest of COVID, and people can start concentrating on their forward vision, and we can have you back on and hear about all the exciting changes and progress that you've made in not only changing people's mindsets on remote working, but also growing the company and that vision of yours as well.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love to. Thank you for the offer.
Brilliant. Well, Callum, thank you ever so much for coming on, and it'd be great to have you on again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Brilliant. Goodbye.